This week, we're at the IRONMAN 70.3 UK at Wimbleball Lake, the toughest 70.3 in the world. Meet three-time Exmoor winner Fraser Cartmell from Scotland. And follow two-time 70.3 world champion Michael Raelert and Formula One star Jenson Button at the inaugural IRONMAN 70.3 Berlin. The Exmoor countryside around Wimbleball Lake is the host location for the IRONMAN 70.3 UK, and three-time winner Fraser Cartmell from Scotland is happy to be back for his favourite race.
It does feel like a home race to me, and that means there's always a little bit more nerves as well before the race, because I want to do really well here.
Considered the toughest 70.3 race in the world, Cartmell also likes the Exmoor Ironman because of its unique setting.
Now, lots of 70.3s around the world are kind of similar, sometimes near more civilization and population and built up, and there's no towns or anything on this course. It's just really different, I think.
Fraser Cartmell competes in Wimbleball together with his girlfriend Ali, an age group athlete herself, and he's glad that they can share their Ironman experiences.
I mean, Ali she loves doing it, she trains a lot too, and that means we can do quite a bit together, which helps, rather than, you know, spending every weekend going away and doing your own thing training.
A naturally strong swimmer, Fraser only does the training swim to test the cold waters at Wimbleball Lake. For him, the swim as such is the least challenging of the three disciplines on this brutal course.
A pretty straightforward course, round two buoys, triangle, out, along, back in, a big arch to sight when we come back in. The run probably is what surprises people the most, because it also is very hilly and it's mostly off-road, which is quite unusual. You know, a bit almost like an Xterra off-road triathlon run, because very little tarmac or asphalt on the run course, so that makes things a lot more interesting. And I'm not the fastest runner by far, so a hard run off a hard bike seems to help me more, because I prefer a strength course, so this is definitely a strength course.
And as the weather turns for the first time this weekend, Cartmell is off to do some bike training.
This is a very difficult bike course. It's demanding, a lot of climbing, corners. It's a technical ride, but it's, you know, that's what makes this 70.3 UK so interesting for me.
Back at base, Cartmell gets his equipment ready for race day. He starts with a thorough clean of his high-tech bike.
It's a completely aerodynamic piece of kit. Everything about it is designed for going as quick as possible, with fully hidden and integrated brakes and cables, and basically anything that can make a bit of a flap or a drag when you're riding fast is hidden from view, so that ideally I can have all my power going for making my bike go as fast as possible.
As most pros, Fraser's a perfectionist, and the meticulous preparation for race day is key.
My blue bag that I will pick up when I come out of the swim, I will add my helmet and my sunglasses into this, and these are what I will pick up out of here, ready to start the bike tomorrow morning. For the second transition bag that we have starting the run, I put everything I need obviously for the run in there, which is shoes, socks, visor, some gels and a fresh pair of sunglasses. But one thing I like to do that I've always done for starting runs and triathlons is add a little bit of baby talcum powder to my shoes. So I put just a dusting of that into each shoe to help just make things a little bit easier to get on.
With his preparation done, Fraser gets back to Race Village to check in his bike, knowing only too well that the physical training is only half the battle.
I think when people really excel is how mentally strong they can be, especially in these longer distance events. You have to have real belief in yourself and real confidence that you can do it as well as you want to do it. It's a real feeling of achievement when you finish something like this, and especially along in an Ironman.
But there's no such thing as an easy triathlon. Yeah, there's definitely a real feeling of I've done something cool when I finish a half or a full Ironman, or any triathlon. So I suppose having 3 different things to do does help, but it's become second nature for me, I suppose, is the best way of putting it.
At the pro briefing the day before the race, Cartmell meets his competitors, 3 strong Brit athletes who have just made or are about to make the transition from short course racing to the 70.3 distance.
With the 70.3, once the gun goes, what I've experienced is it's very similar to Olympic. It's full gas, you know, the whole way, but it's the training that's had to change a lot more. There's less intensity and there's a lot more miles, especially on the bike.
Biggest challenge for me so far is really time trialing. It's completely different to road riding. It's not really strength on the bike, it's more getting used to riding in that position and getting the power down. And it has been a struggle, but I think I'm really starting to get somewhere now. In the past few weeks, it's been going really well.
I'm just turning up, just going to see how it goes and see where I concentrate from there. If I concentrate on the shorter stuff, or if I start doing this slightly longer than I'm used to.
There is also a strong women's field in Wimbleball, and the big favourite is last year's winner Emer Mullen.
I don't really feel much pressure. I'd love to defend the title, but I know how tough it's going to be. I know how tough the field is tomorrow. There's a lot of good girls racing.
You've got to be aware that it can get cold and rain tomorrow morning, and you still have to be motivated. If you come from warmer climates, the cold really hits you, and it's not really good for your psyche or your motivation. But I'm well prepared for that. 6 a.m. race day at Wimbleball Lake. Transition is abuzz with athletes, and like everyone else, Fraser Cartmell is going through his last preparations for the world's toughest Ironman 70.3.
Just make sure I've got to put my shoes on the bike, which I've done, put water bottles and nutrition on the bike too, and then pump up the tyres and just double check everything's okay. Yeah, this has got to get done now, and I'll think about the race when I get my wetsuit on and getting down close to the water's edge.
In transition, he meets his good friend Tim Don, who is about to do his third 70.3 race.
I guess you get to transition and the nerves and excitement start to build. You know, I try not to get too nervous because you've done all the hard training.
As other athletes like Richie Nichols, his girlfriend, defending champion Emer Mullen, and the strongest female swimmer in the field, 23-year-old Holly Lawrence, prepare their bikes, Cartmell and Don make their way towards the water, and Cartmell is happy the weather is holding up.
Just glad there's no rain. That's a good thing. So I think, yeah, a little bit warmer than I expected, and no rain so far, so that's good. Looking forward to going and getting going with the race.
Just before 7 o'clock, almost 1,400 athletes from 46 countries are getting ready to embark on their challenging journey. The tension is palpable as Wimbleball Lake welcomes the Ironman crowd with a chilly 14 degrees Celsius. With the 7 o'clock starting signal, the race is on and the pros power away ahead of the impressive mass of age groupers. 998 of them take on the Half Ironman Challenge for the first time in their lives. Early on, a lead group takes control of the swim. In the mix, former Olympians Tim Don and Will Clark, Ironman newbie Richie Nichols, but also ex-Mo older hand Fraser Cartmell pushing a fast pace. After 1.9 kilometers, 5 men exit the water together. A thrilling bike race should ensue. Tim Don of the UK tops the early leaderboard with a swim split of 23 minutes and 56 seconds. On the women's side, Holly Lawrence emerges from Lake Wimbleball, adding a blistering swim split to her records. In a time of 25:55, she has opened up a fine gap over the rest of the women's field and heads towards the first transition in 7th place overall. It's Fraser Cartmell and Richie Nichols who are fastest out of T1. Hot on their heels is their fellow countryman, Tim Don.
Holly Lawrence is her leading lady, an amazing swim of 25:55 and our top 10 overall.
On his quest for his 4th title, Fraser Cartmell seems determined to tackle the extremely challenging bike course head on. As Holly Lawrence unracks her bike, the closest competitor trails by a minute, defending champion Emma Mullen already by 3. The 2-lap 90-kilometer bike course takes the athletes through the heart of the Exmoor National Park. Peppered with 52 hills, the British trio tackle 1,190 meters of climbing on a truly demanding course. 36 kilometers into the bike, the breakaway group around Fraser Cartmell is in full control of the race, steadily moving away from the rest of the pro field. Fraser, Tim Don and Richie Nichols are taking turns setting the pace in the front. At this stage, the closest followers are 3.5 minutes behind. Nearly 40k into the bike, Holly Lawrence's advantage has increased to 2 minutes. It is now Susie Hignett who is behind her fellow Brits. Emma Mullen, who is working hard at improving her swim, has now moved into 3rd, 2.5 minutes behind Lawrence. To defend her title, Mullen needs to put her strong cycling skills to the test. As the weather is deteriorating, the age groupers have also taken on their battle on 2 wheels. Fraser Cartmell is determined to make it 4 wins in Wimbleball, but experienced racer Don and youngster Nichols do not let up. With an average speed of 36.38 kilometers an hour, they have created a gap of nearly 8 minutes between them and the rest of the field. Those 3 are really pushing the pace as they battle their way through the energy-sapping landscape of the Exmoor Hills. Nearly 3 hours into the race, the 3 strong Brits get off the bike virtually in unison. Clocking 2 hours, 32 minutes, 46 seconds, they have produced a stunning bike split for this course. While 70.3 first-timer Richie Nichols seems unimpressed by the pace of his more experienced competitors, Fraser Cartmell is not entirely satisfied thus far.
A little bit wet, a little bit cold, but not nearly as bad as it could have been. Sorry? Just a shame these 2 guys are hanging around.
In the women's field, Holly Lawrence's advantage over her followers remains at around 2 minutes. But 2012 winner Emma Mullen has moved into 2nd at the 77-kilometer mark and is continuously reducing her deficit. 2 hours, 56 minutes and 33 seconds is a great bike split for Lawrence. Yet behind her, Mullen is clocking the fastest times in the women's field. Who will win the 3-fold battle in the men's race at Wimbleball Lake? And will Emma Mullen catch up to take her 2nd 70.3 UK title? Find out after the break. We are back at the IRONMAN 70.3 UK at Wimbleball Lake. It's a tight race as Tim Don, Richie Nichols and Fraser Cartmell exit the transition, but straight away Nichols goes on the attack and takes over the lead. Looking strong, the young Scot quickly moves away from Cartmell and Don. The 2 friends run shoulder to shoulder on the tricky terrain, and it looks like it's going to be a real battle for 2nd and 3rd place. But yet on another quad-crunching descent, Don moves past Cartmell and takes over 2nd place. In the women's race, Holly Lawrence exits transition 90 seconds ahead of Emma Mullen. So far, the young British athlete is the surprise package of the day. But Emma Mullen is a strong runner and immediately closes the gap. Can Holly Lawrence hold on to her lead? This is going to be a nail-biting finish. And at the 7.7k mark, Lawrence's lead over Mullen is only 45 seconds. With almost 7 kilometers to the finish line, Richie Nichols is in control of the race. He is now more than 2 minutes ahead of Don and already 3:46 ahead of Cartmell. In the women's race, Emma Mullen has overtaken long-time race leader Holly Lawrence, and by the 14.4k mark, Mullen has a lead of 12 seconds. Lawrence now struggling to keep up with the Irish athlete. At the front, the dark horse is about to strike, and after a phenomenal run, the 25-year-old Richie Nichols celebrates his first victory in his first ever Ironman 70.3 race and sets a new course record. In second place, 5 minutes and 3 seconds behind the winner, an exhausted Tim Don. Fraser Cartmell arrives in third, claiming yet another podium in Wimbleball. What a great day for British triathlon, with 2 Scots and an Englishman dominating this year's Ironman 70.3 UK. Cheered on by the crowd, the 3 friends celebrate their podium places at Fraser Cartmell's birthday.
It was tough. This race never gets any easier, and I knew that both Tim and Richie are very strong runners, so I wanted to try and push the pace on the bike as much as I could. I hope that I can maybe make them suffer and not be able to run as well as they can. It maybe worked a bit for Tim, but Richie was, he had a fantastic race. Really delighted for his win.
Yeah, I was really chuffed with that. I didn't really expect to go in here and win, so I was really happy with that. Good surprise, and yeah, I felt strong around all 3. I'm really pleased with the performance.
In the women's race, 31-year-old Emma Mullen plays out all her experience and brings home the last lap of the run, successfully defending her 2012 title and celebrating yet another win on British soil. Emma Mullen from Ireland, a true star on the Ironman horizon, who continues to set the Ironman world alight. In second place, a little more than a minute behind Mullen, Holly Lawrence. But it's Emma Mullen who claims her second Ironman 70.3 UK title.
It really means a lot to me to win this race again. I mean, this is my favourite race and I absolutely love it, and I was just so happy to come back and do it. And I'm glad I didn't feel too much pressure going into it. It kind of helped to keep me going, and just really happy to have won again.
As the winners celebrate, age groupers from all over the world achieve their own triumphs by braving the horrendous weather conditions and finishing the toughest Ironman 70.3 in the world. From the English countryside, Ironman takes us to the city of Berlin, backdrop to the first Ironman 70.3 ever held in a European capital. Michael Raelert, 2-time Ironman 70.3 world champion, has just moved to Berlin. He will be the man to watch. I'm especially nervous for my first race of the year. I'll be panicking, quite nervous tomorrow, to be honest. That's how I feel right now. Following a long winter break, I don't really know where I am right now. Raelert is joined by another world champion, Formula One pilot Jenson Button. For 5 years, he has been a triathlon regular.
And it's not just about training the, physically, it's the mental training that this gives you. And the amount of pain I go through in these races is phenomenal. And, it's nice to know that I'll never feel that in a Formula One car. I can do every lap at 100%.
Button and his fellow competitors will face a unique bike course layout. They will be cycling laps on the runways of the former Tempelhof Airport.
For the
first time, an Ironman will take place in a European capital, which has been an important step for the sport. It is obviously difficult to close down large parts of a metropolis for a bike course. I think with the Tempelhof airfield, we've found a good solution. Race day in Berlin. 1,100 athletes are preparing themselves to jump into the River Spree, which is a mild 18 degrees on this summer morning. At 8 o'clock, the race is on for the pros, followed by the age groupers before long. Michael Raelert is in the lead group early on, as Olympic distance triathlete Christian Prochnow from Germany pushes the pace right from the start. The first man out of the water in 23 minutes 56 seconds, Prochnow is followed by Raelert, Anthony Costes and Christian Ritter, all within a couple of seconds. Michael Raelert flies through the first transition. He seems very determined to get away from his competitors sooner rather than later. In the women's field, Barbara Riveros of Chile is the first out of transition, following a strong swim of 26:48. As he navigates through the challenging turns on the airstrip, Michael Raelert has built a 4-minute lead after only 30 of the 90 kilometers. France's Anthony Costes leads the chase group, followed by Christian Rutte and Per Bittner. For Formula One ace Jenson Button, this is not exactly a weekend off from racing. Smashing an average speed of 38.24 kilometers an hour on the bike, Jenson is en route to set a new personal best. Michael Raelert has maintained a steady pace throughout his last 60k on the bike. Flying into transition, he's now ready to race 3 laps on the Tempelhof airstrip on foot. Raelert's chasers arrive at T2 about 4 minutes behind the local hero. They are Per Bittner and Michael Görner, who have steadily climbed up the leaderboard in the second half of the bike. 1 minute ahead of their closest rivals, they now head off for an exciting foot race. 3 kilometers into the run, Michael Raelert has increased his lead over his competitors by another minute, looking confident in his quest for the title. Behind him, Michael Görner and Per Bittner are leapfrogging each other for second. The two chasers keep up a fast pace, moving at a speed nearly equaling Raelert's. The German star of the day's race, Michael Raelert, has settled into a steady rhythm, clocking a constant pace of 3 minutes and 38 seconds per kilometer. As hundreds of age groupers take on fuel for their muscles, Jenson Button is still on track to break his personal best. He laps the airstrip at an average speed of 4 minutes 15 seconds per kilometer. Over the final kilometers, Michael Görner finally manages to pull away from Per Bittner after they ran side by side for much of the run. Up front, Michael Raelert savors the last meters of his first Ironman 70.3 in 2013. Crosses the finish line in 3 hours, 46 minutes, 56 seconds. Raelert seals his victory in very impressive style. With the fastest half marathon, Michael Görner comes second, 45 seconds ahead of Per Bittner. This was a first important check to see where I am at currently. The next race on the agenda is Frankfurt, where I'm aiming to confirm the form I have shown here in Berlin. And then I'm looking forward to showing my face in Kona. Barbara Riveros of Chile is the happy winner of today's ladies' race. Completing the podium are Germany's Katja Konchak in second and Rachel McBride of Canada taking third. Jenson Button finishes just over half an hour behind Michael Raelert, an outstanding race in which Button establishes a new personal best and comes 35th overall.
Awesome event. I like the idea with the laps on the bike. I'm sure some people were disappointed, but I think it makes for more of a personal event. So, cheers, man. Thanks.
Hopes are high that the success of the inaugural Ironman 70.3 Berlin will be repeated in the future, attracting plenty of stars from inside and outside the sport. The spectacular setting of the Ironman Australia in Port Macquarie, New South Wales, drew hundreds of Ironman athletes from around the world down under. Already on the swim in River Hastings, a small group of athletes established a lead, and with 2 age groupers ahead, Australian Luke Bell was leading the pro field after the swim. Once the age groupers were caught, Bell was in charge of the race. In the women's field, Leanne Southwell took the initial lead on the bike. Bell was now in cruise control and entered T2 with a 5-minute lead ahead of Patrick Evo. At the front of the women's field, Australian Hilary Roschke was now ahead of the pack. But it was Luke Bell who stole the headlines. After a stellar career with 14 Ironman 70.3 wins and 30 podiums, the 34-year-old finally celebrated his first ever full-distance Ironman win ahead of Patrick Evo and Luke Whitmore. Rebecca Hoschke ran her way to break the tape and complete an all-Australian top step of the podium. In the Kona Pro rankings, Craig Alexander remains the leader following his victory at the Ironman 70.3 in Kansas. 2012 Kona winner Pete Jacobs returned from injury with the 4th place at the Ironman 70.3 in Cairns. Ironman and Ironman 70.3 world champion at 2012, Leander Cave tops the women's table, while Gina Crawford moved up to 3rd by coming 2nd at the Ironman Cairns in Australia. Next week, we have all the highlights of the Ironman France and Nice. Hang out with double Nice winner and last year's 3rd place in Kona, Belgian Frederik van Leerde. And update you on the Ironman events around the world.